In this video, we'll talk about using the help command in PowerShell. Now, to get help on the copy-item commandlet, I just type get-help space copy-item. So what I'm saying is I'm telling PowerShell to get help on this commandlet. And if I hit enter, it gives me a whole lot of information here. So it says what's the name of the command and what are the different aliases for this command. And it also tells me the syntax for this command. So it has to be used as copy-item, the source path, the destination path, and there are different other parameters, including the one we saw, recurse. Now it doesn't say what this recurse does, what this force does, and all those. That is because my help file is not updated. So if you look at the remarks, it says get help cannot find the help files for this commandlet on this computer. It's displaying only partial help. To download and install help files for the module that includes this commandlet, use update help. So I just need to update my help, and it is quite easy. All I need to do is update-help and hit enter, and PowerShell is going to connect to the internet and download the help file for me. So I hit enter, and if you see, you get a green banner here, and PowerShell is downloading the help file and installing. But make sure you actually run the shell as an administrator. It should be run as an administrator mode. Alright, now PowerShell has updated the help. So if I type, let me clear the screen right now. Now I'm going to use CLS instead of clear host, just to demonstrate this also works. Okay, now if I type help, instead of get help, I can also type help. Help is the alias for get help. If I type help space copy-item and hit enter, now it gives a very detailed information about copy item. It says copies an item from one location to another. It gives the syntax, and it gives a detailed description, and it gives related links and remarks. Still, I do not see what each of these parameters stand for. I can get into a more detailed help by using either this detailed parameter or full parameter. With help, you can actually use one of these 4 parameters. If you just type example, it's going to list some examples. If you're going to type detail, it's going to give a detailed version of this help. If you're going to type full, it's just going to give a complete information about this command. And if you're going to type -online, it's going to search online and bring the latest help file. So let me type help space copy-item space detailed, or let's go for full. Why compromise? Okay, so I just have to hit the space bar until it completes, and then we can go back and see what it is. It says the same thing, the synopsis and the syntax. Now I can see the definition for each parameter, what each parameter does. It's in alphabetical order. So we wanted to look for recurse. So if I go down, it says recurse, specifies a recursive copy. So it tells me what recurse does. And it also tells me another information, required, false. Yes, recurse is not a required, it's not a mandatory parameter. You don't have to specify recurse in order for copy item to work. If you specify, it does a recursive copy. If you don't specify, it'll actually copy just the outer folder. Now that's what it says. Is this required? False. However, if you look at path, it says required, true. That is because if you don't specify the path, it will not be able to copy. And if you check destination, it says false, because if you don't specify destination, it will still work. Only thing is, it's going to copy to the current path. For example, if okay, let me go down here, copy-item space c:\test1, and if I don't type c:\test2, if I don't type this destination, what it's going to do is it's going to copy the test1 folder into the current path, which is C users busy ping. Alright, so destination is not mandatory for this command to run. So that's what it says for each command, where each parameter. Is this parameter required, true or false? Is this parameter required, true or false? Literal path, yes, you need to give the complete path. If you don't give the path, it's not going to work. So it is mandatory. Alright, so that is how you use a help command for any commandlet to get help on that commandlet. Now let me also tell you a few more things here in the syntax. If you notice, there are a lot of square brackets around these parameters. You can see one square bracket, you can see double square bracket, and so on. Now, what are these square brackets? What do they stand for? Well, the thumb rule is anything inside the square bracket is optional. So if you see copy dash item space dash path, the dash path is optional. Well, I just told that path is mandatory. The dash path is a source path, and that is mandatory for the command to work, but I'm just saying it is optional. So what am I contradicting here? Okay, so let me open another PowerShell window to demonstrate that. All right, so we type this command as copy dash item space c:\test1 space c:\test2, and we hit enter, and it worked. Now let me go and delete that folder test1 inside test2. Now this command worked, we know that, but this is the short form of this command. As per the syntax given here, the command should be copy dash item space dash path c:\test1 space dash destination c:\test2, and if I hit enter, if I go to test2, I see that the command worked. So as per the syntax defined in PowerShell, this is how you need to type the command. However, it worked without typing the path and without typing destination. That is what I meant by this dash path is optional, dash destination is optional. However, the entire parameter itself is mandatory. That's the reason why you don't have a square bracket here and here. However, if you look at destination, as I said, destination is optional. You can see that the parameter name destination, basically this dash path, dash destination, dash container, these are all parameter names, and the string, these are all parameter value type. Okay, dash destination is optional, typing the parameter name is optional, and the parameter itself is optional. That's why the entire thing is coming inside a square bracket. So that's the concept behind square bracket. Anything inside the square bracket is optional. If you look at this parameter filter, now this parameter itself is optional. That's the reason why it's coming inside the square bracket. However, if you want to use that parameter, dash filter, the parameter name, that is mandatory. If you do not type dash filter, and if you just give some filter parameters, this parameter is not going to work. Similarly, credential, if you want to mention someone else's credential, you can mention dash credential and you can type the credential. However, this parameter itself is optional. Without this parameter it will work. But if you want to use the parameter, you have to type dash credential and then mention the credential. Another thing I want you to notice here is only certain parameters have the parameter type mentioned, like string. So for example, in path you have string, for destination you have string, and for include you have string. However, parameters like recurse doesn't have any parameter type mentioned, pass through doesn't have a parameter type mentioned, confirm doesn't have a parameter type mentioned. So what is the difference? Well, it means that the parameters which don't have any type of parameter type mentioned basically doesn't require any value. For example, for path you need to you need to mention a value. You just can't mention dash path and leave it. You have to mention what path it is. For destination, similarly, you have to type the destination path and it will be a string. However, for recurse, you don't have to mention a value, and you cannot mention a value. It's not you don't have to, it's you cannot mention a value. Recurse doesn't have any value. Similarly, a container doesn't have any value. Pass-through doesn't have any value. And you will also notice that some parameters have this square bracket at the end before this arrow bracket closes, and some parameters don't have the square bracket. So what does that mean? Well, the parameters with the value type which will have the square brackets accept multiple inputs. However, which doesn't have a square bracket will accept only one value. And what do I mean by that? Okay, let's open our another PowerShell shell, and let's try this. If I type copy -item space c:\test1 space c:\test2, and if I hit enter, test1 is going to copy into test2. Now what if I want to copy multiple folders into test2? I can simply type C:\test1, C:\, let's assume that there's a folder called test3, though I don't have it. I can type C:\test3. Similarly, I can type multiple folders like this with comma separate, but there should not be any space. That is the key. If there's a space in between, then PowerShell will assume that that's the next comment. So there should not be any space. So what do you do in cases like if the folder name itself has a space? For example, if you want C:\program space files, if you want a cd to C:\program space files, and if I hit enter, it says a positional parameter cannot be found that accepts argument files, which means PowerShell assumed that files is an argument and it is the path. So in these cases, you have to type cd space C:\program space files, and you have to ensure that it's quoted inside a code. I mean, it's inside a code. Now if I type hit enter, it changes. So similarly, if I type copy space item space C:\test1, C:\, let's say if I want to copy program files into C:\test2, if I do this will not work. So I have to put a quote here, and then I have to hit enter. Now what happens is both these folders, test1 as well as program files, both these folders will get copied to test2. The key thing is there should not be space between the C:\test1 and the next folder which you're specifying, because if you have a space in between, then PowerShell will assume that that's going to be the next parameter, basically the destination path. So that's what it's all about. If you see a parameter with a parameter type with square bracket, it can accept multiple values, while without a square bracket, it can accept only one value. So I hope now you have a strong understanding about how to use commandlets in PowerShell, how to find information about commandlets, basically how to use help, and how to understand the different parameters and their values. In the next video, we will talk more about commandlets, and we will also talk about a concept called pipeline, which is very, very important, and that is what makes PowerShell stand out.